Okay, good morning everyone. My name is Idris Mohammed Mustafa from the Department of Physics, Nasarawa State University, Kefi, Nigeria. I will be taking you physics for life sciences, and today we shall be discussing light. In our previous lecture, we talked about dynamics, where we say dynamics is the science of motion. Under that, we discussed velocity, acceleration. We went further to derive the equations of motion, the three equations of motion, and furthermore we um, discussed the laws of motion, the three laws of motion. So if you have not watched that video, I strongly recommend that you get that video and watch. So this morning we shall be discussing light, and we say light. Under light we have rays of light, transmission of light, types of substance, rectilinear propagation of light, basic terms and definition, types of reflection, laws of reflection, properties of image formed by plane mirror. So light, what is light? By definition, light is that form of energy that brings about the sensation of vision. If you're in a dark room, and of course in a dark room where there is no light, you discover that you cannot see anything inside that room. The once light, appears in that room, everything becomes very clear. So light is also that part of electromagnetic spectrum which travels in a straight line. That is, light travels in a straight line. Light never bends. And of course it travels with a velocity of 3.0 times 10 to the power of 8 meter per second in vacuum, 2.0 times 10 to the power of 8 meter per second in glass, and sorry, 2.3 times 10 to the power of 8 meter per second in water or liquid. You can see light travels in different medium with different speed. That's velocity. So since light is a wave, its velocity can be expressed by the relation v equals to f lambda, where v is the velocity of the wave, f is the frequency of the wave, and lambda is the wavelength of the light wave, of the electromagnetic wave. So source of light, of course, where do light comes from? Where do light come from? So the source of light is usually from an object. So light always is emitted from an object. So such objects are classified into two, depending on how light from them is emitted. So the first one is luminous objects. Luminous object. So these are objects which gives out light by themselves. They give out light by themselves. Example of such are, we have the sun, the candle flame, the light bulb, and so on and so forth. A fire, if a fire is set up, of course it will emit light, and so on and so forth. If there is a spark, of course light is also emitted. So these are all luminous objects. We refer to them as luminous objects because they emit light by themselves. So the other one is non-luminous objects. These are objects which cannot emit light on their own except by reflection of light from luminous objects. So in this case, light is, what they do is that they reflect back light that falls on them from another object. So example of such object is the moon. I know some of you will be surprised. Wow, moon. Yeah, moon does not emit light on its own. It reflects light from the sun back to the earth. So it's more like a mirror. So it's reflecting the light that falls on it from the sun. So rays of light. What is a ray? A ray of light is a path traveled by light energy. Is a path traveled by light energy. It is expressed by a straight line with an arrowhead indicating the direction of travel. You can see figure 1 represents a ray of light. So a beam of light is a collection of rays. When you have two or more rays of light, then we refer to that as the beam of light. So there are three types of beam of light. The first one is converging beam. These are rays of light, that's a collection of rays of light that are moving from all directions but pointing towards one point, that is meeting at almost a point. So we refer to that beam as a converging beam. Then we have the diverging beam. Here the beam starts from almost a point and then of course spread out together. So this such beam are referred to as diverging beam. Then we have the parallel beam. These are beams that travel in a straight line. That is, they travel parallel to one another. That is to say, they never meet. So they start from point one or from point A down to point B without deviating or without increasing uh, the distance between them. So we refer to that as parallel beam. Then transmission of light. How is light transmitted? So light can travel through a solid, liquid, gas or vacuum. So irrespective of the material, light can travel through most material, but that also depends on some conditions which we're going to be looking at. So this shows that light does not need a material medium for its transmission. That is, light can travel in the with or without any material. It can travel in a vacuum. So for that, light does not require material medium for its propagation. So types of substance which light can pass through. We have the opaque substance. An opaque substance is one which light is not allowed to pass through. Example, we have the wood, stone, book, so many. In fact, we have a lot of them. We have a lot of them, tree, and so on and so forth. They do not allow light to pass through them. Then we have the transparent substance. These are substances which allows also all or some of the light energy incident on them to pass through so that the object are clearly seen. So these are materials that allow light to pass through them. Example are plain glass. Normally glass allow light to pass through them. And then we have the translucent substance. So these are substances which allows some light energy incident on it to pass through it, but does not allow objects to be clearly seen. That is, most of some part of the light passes through while others are blocked, and for that objects are not clearly seen. So we refer to such substance as luminous substance. The rectilinear propagation of light. Rectilinear propagation of light is the traveling of light in a straight line, just like we have mentioned earlier. Light travel in a straight line. So this can be verified by the formation of shadows on screen, eclipse, and the formation of image in a pinhole camera. These are all examples. In fact, because one evidence is that shadow formations, shadow takes the shape of whatever object light falls on. So it gives the shadow of that shape is this exact as the shape of the material which light falls on it, which is evident that light travel in a straight line. Then we have reflection of light on plane surface. So reflection is the throwing off of incident rays from a smooth or polished surface. Example is a mirror. We know that mirror can reflect back light. When light falls on it, it can reflect it back. So the basic terms and definition. So we have the incident ray. The incident ray is the ray of light that falls on a mirror. That's the ray of light that falls on the mirror. So the ray of light coming to the mirror that falls on the mirror. Then we have the reflected ray. This is the ray of light thrown off from the mirror surface when incident ray falls on it. So that is the one that is thrown off, the reflected one, which we refer to as the reflected ray. Then the normal is the line perpendicular to the plane surface. Is the line perpendicular to the plane surface through which and all meeting at the same point. The point of incident, the point of reflected, and the normal all are meeting on the same point. So the normal is the perpendicular line to the surface, to the mirror surface. Then we have the incident angle. So this is the angle between the incident ray and the normal. So that is the incident ray and the normal through somewhere at the center. So where we have the incident ray and we have the normal, so the angle between them is what we refer to as the incident angle. Then we have the reflected ray, is the angle between the reflected ray and the normal, the reflected ray and the normal. So of course the angle in between them is what we refer to as the reflected angle. Then we have the glancing angle. So glancing angle is the angle between either the reflected ray or the incident ray and the mirror surface. So here we're looking at the the angle between the reflected ray and if this is the plane mirror, then this is, let's say, the reflected ray. So the angle between the reflected ray and the mirror surface is what we refer to as the glancing angle. So types of reflection. There are two types of reflection that could be observed when parallel ray of light falls on a reflecting surface. We have the regular reflection and we have the diffuse reflection. Regular reflection is when a beam of light falls on a plane mirror, a smooth surface, a flat surface. Of course, they will be reflected at almost the same angle. While diffuse reflection is when light falls on a rough surface. Of course, the light will be reflected or will be scattered off as a result of the nature of the mirror surface. Then we have the laws of reflection. So the law of reflection states that the incident ray, the reflected ray, and the normal at the point of incidence all lies on the same point, just like I have mentioned earlier. So the incident ray, the reflected ray, and the normal at the point of incident all lies on the same plane. So the angle of incident is equal to the angle of reflection. That's the second law. The laws are two. So the angle of incident is always equal to the angle of reflection. That is, I naught is equals to R naught. So we have real and virtual image. A real image is one that can be obtained on a screen, or it is formed by real intersection of lines. So these are images that can be formed on the screen. Then we have the virtual image, which is one which cannot be obtained on a screen, or it is formed by apparent intersection of line. So real image, it gives the arrangement of the real object on the screen, while the virtual image tends to invert somehow the image, which is a way which we can differentiate image formation in a mirror. So we have image formed by two incident mirrors. So if two mirrors are inclined at an angle theta to each other, the number of images formed is equals to n equals to 360 divided by theta minus 1. That is, if theta is exact factor of 360, that is to say, if we divide 360 by the angle, you will get a whole number. Sorry, you will get what do you call it? A whole number, an even number. You get an even number. So, but if n is not there, but if n is equal to 360 divided by that, and gives you, if the answer is an odd number, then you don't need to subtract 1. So that is if theta is not an exact factor of 360. So any of the two formula can be used depending on the answer, the value you have. So example, calculate the number of images that will be formed if two plane mirrors are placed in such a way that they are inclined at an angle theta, or at an angle of 10 degrees to each other. So the solution, since 10 is an exact factor of 360, that is 360 divided by 10 is going to give us a whole number, a number we don't need to, so there we don't need to minus 1. So therefore we use the other formula, which is n equals to 360 divided by theta minus 1, so that at the end of the day we can have an even number. So 360 divided by 10 minus 1, which will give us 35. So therefore the number of images formed is 35. That's the number of image formed. The properties of image formed by plane mirror. Generally the image formed by plane mirror is one, same size as object. So plane mirror, the images are always of the same size as the object. Same distance between the image between the mirror as in the object in front. So the distance between the image and the distance between the object and the mirror, and then of course the mirror and the image is the same. They're literally inverted. Of course it's somehow inverted such that your left will appear right in the image and the right will appear left. So, and in virtual meaning is not real. The object are the image are somehow inverted too. So image can only be real if the rays coming from the object to the mirror is perpendicular. Hence the image will be formed by perpendicularly reflected rays along the incident direction. So these are very important. The uses of plane mirror we have as looking glass. We have in periscope. These are optical instruments. We have the kaleidoscope, is also an optical instrument. We have in sextants. We use plane mirror. These are optical instruments too. Then by opticians to enable them obtain actual distance for testing the eye. So opticians also use plane mirrors. So these are all various uses of plane mirrors. So thank you very much for listening. I want to believe you enjoy the lectures. See you in another lecture series. Thank you.